Welcome back to Abel's Treasures. Today, I have a treat for you. We're going to speak to Lisette. Posh is my purpose on Instagram. I will put all her links down below. We'll jump right into it, but before we do, remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share with your friends. Lisette and I had a really deeper conversation than just reselling. I know you'll enjoy it. Let's jump right into it. Lisette, thank you for coming on to Abel's Treasures. I really appreciate it. Now, before we get started, one of the things I want to tell you, or what I noticed, is you are just a shining light for the reselling community. So many people know you and can count on you. And when you reached out to me for Hump Day and then continued to foster that friendship, it was great. It was a great connection. So I just want to thank you for that, and thank you for being a friend. Now I get the privilege of interviewing you. So if you could do me a favor and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please.
Of course. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's definitely my my mission is to, like you, I enjoy the human interaction, and it just what motivates me. So I appreciate that. And my name is Lisette. I am Posh is my purpose on Instagram, New England Betty Boop on YouTube, and yeah, I've been a reseller for about 6 years, and I am a mom of 3, and I am married, currently living in Massachusetts.
So 6 years, what got you into reselling?
Actually, Andrew, my husband, we actually used to do flea markets years ago before our children were born. We would pack up 2 vans with stuff that we had purchased from probably wholesale places, things of our own, and we would pack up the vans and just, go to flea markets. Yeah, and we stopped. Obviously, life got in the way, and not in the way, but life happens, and
Yeah.
we raised our children. He had his job, I had different jobs, and then probably about 10 years ago, he started reselling on Macari and on Poshmark. And then when we moved here from New York, he said, you should join Poshmark. It's very social. I love social media. I love the interaction. And he said, and you can make money. I think it would be great for you. And that was about 7 years ago, maybe a little more. And it took me about a year to really start saying, okay, I think I'm going to do this. And he's probably regretful now that he said that, because I'm consumed with reselling. It's my life. I love it. And now through that, I mean, I was with Poshmark. First, I started with Macari, actually. Then I was with Poshmark. And now over the past probably year and a half, I have eBay. So those are my 3 main platforms.
Okay, so recently eBay. Which one do you like the most?
I'm going to tell you, eBay is very close
Is
to
it?
being first. It is. And I'm sure a lot of people would be, because Posh is my purpose. That's my Instagram handle. That it came from Poshmark. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I have my main Instagram, and then once I opened up Poshmark, they do the what do they call them? Like affiliate programs, and you can get $5. It used to be $10. Now it's $5 for every post that you make, and you include them. So I created social media for that. And then it surpassed my personal Instagram. And now I just have both names, and I keep them. New England Betty Boop is too long for Poshmark. So,
Okay.
yeah, so that I keep both. But in my Poshmark closet, it says New England Betty Boop on YouTube. So it kind of blends both. People who know me know it's me.
Right. There's a lot of people that know you. So eBay's getting close. What do you like about it? Is it just the amount of sales that you're getting, or is it the platform?
I just think it's the amount of people that it's reaching, the potential. For me, I'm not anywhere near where I'd like to be, but I see the potential. And once I got over the fear of shipping and being scammed, I just see the potential. I definitely, and you can sell anything. I mean, on Poshmark now, you can sell anything as well. But I just feel like eBay just has such a broader range of people. You could sell, I made, I think 5 international sales already. And, so yeah.
For newer people that may watch this, what was your fear of eBay besides the scams? And well, the scams, shipping, things like that, what was your primary fear? How did you get over it?
Um, Really, those were my 2 biggest things because it was such a big platform. Like, what if I make a mistake? I think our biggest problem is always, you were saying it on one of your podcasts. I think it was with Amanda. One of our biggest problems is getting old, thinking that we know everything, or maybe it was with Primo, but thinking that we have to know everything right away without giving ourselves a chance to learn. So I just think it was all of that. But then eventually, I surrounded myself with more people from eBay. I met Derek and Magina, and it kind of geared me more towards eBay because seeing them, not only with their sales and stuff, and but just as that they've been doing it so long and it's been successful for them, and just giving me that confidence to really, and just their encouragement. And my friend Cynthia, Lady Hustle, I told you about her. Yeah. And yeah, so, and Primo Luis as well. Like they, are eBay's. I know he's big into Macari, but he definitely has helped me with, eBay questions and stuff like that. So it's surrounding yourself with people that help you to see what the potential is in you and in whatever platform you decide to sell on.
Right. With Luis, one of the things that it did shock me, I didn't know that he enjoys Mercari more than eBay. Mm-hmm. And I was excited about that just because I love to hear somebody's different point of view, because I feel like I'm stuck in my way. eBay's number one, and it'll probably always be number one. So to hear something different, I was definitely open to that conversation. So I really appreciated having that conversation with him.
And I think that's why it's so important to have more than one platform, because when one's not doing well, the other one can pick up the slack, and you're just learning so much from each platform because, they're constantly changing and evolving. So it's definitely beneficial. And I have sold on other platforms. I've sold on Kitizen, which was mostly children's clothes and women's clothes. I sold on Depop for probably about 1.5 years, but I just felt the effort and energy that I was putting in wasn't giving me what I needed. And I'm sure it was because I was putting more emphasis on Macari and on Poshmark. On eBay and on Poshmark. So Macari is kind of my third one. So because of that, then the other ones suffer. I'm sure if I put, all my energy in Macari or Depop, or, they would do better. But I just felt, it wasn't for me at the time. So I just have the 3.
Okay. So we're going to transition a little bit because I enjoy talking about reselling, but also what I want this channel to be about is really getting to know you a little bit more, even outside of reselling. So a couple of questions. What is your passion outside of reselling? What excites you to wake up in the morning or on vacation? I've seen a couple of things on Instagram. I think you went with a friend to a lake or something, different things like that. What is your passion?
Well, that could be deceiving because I don't really go vacation much.
Okay.
But that was the most recent adventure, I'll say, because I love a great adventure. Like, I'll just get in my car and go. I really don't vacation much because, I work a lot and, but I'm okay with that because, like I said, I could go for a drive and go somewhere local, and it's good for my soul. So, but what excites me really is fitness, as you know. It keeps me sane. It keeps me I love it. I just love sharing my journey. And the other thing that excites me is just communicating with other people, resellers. I meet people all day. I do gig work, so I'm constantly in contact with people. So yeah, I love that. That's my passion. I just feel that.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
I was going to say, when you say gig work, what are you referring to?
So Uber and Instacart.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you, what's your full-time job, or what is full time to you. So is it reselling and the gig work that's kind of encompasses your full time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. How do you balance that out?
Um, I don't.
Okay.
I just kind of take it. I really don't. Like some days, I'm doing one or the other more, it depends on how the day, if it's a busy day for me to do Instacart and I'm making money, then reselling is not going to be at the top of my priority because I'm making the money now in the moment and it's available. So tomorrow might not be that way. But just try to do your best. Like as you know, I got a storage unit about a month and a half ago to
Yeah.
kind of help with the chaos so that it's not in my house. It gives me a place where I can just focus on separating and getting things ready to list, and it's out of the house and it's just more of peace of mind. So I've been working on that a lot. And up until my recent live shows, so I had to take a little break from the storage unit,
Right.
but I'm definitely getting back into that. So it's just a little bit of juggling what you can in the day, and I'm really bad at. I'm not a good person to follow as far as structure. I'm very unstructured. I'm a winger. I'm trying to get there.
Question behind that. Are you, well, you kind of just answered it. Are you okay with that? Because that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're able to.
No, it's not. I'm really okay with it. I really am. Some days I beat myself up a little bit more because I feel like I know what I'm capable of, and I might not reach my potential for the day or the week or so I'm a little hard on myself about that, but I'm really okay with it. I've been that way my whole life. It was kind of a survival mechanism. And yeah, here we are. So, do I want to be more structured? Yes, because I'd like to have a little bit more control of my time. I feel like I'm definitely a daydreamer, so things can get away from me,
Yeah.
thinking about things that I want to do. And, we could get lost in that instead of doing them. I have great ideas, so I just have to make sure I think of how I want it to happen, as opposed to
Right.
just thinking about.
So those ideas, are you converting them into the action that you need? And I'm not saying all the time, but are you converting some of those?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I always tell people that my husband has survived 32 years of my harebrained schemes. So
Shout out to your husband on that.
yeah, that's not easy. I'm not easy to deal with. I'll be the first to admit it. But yeah, you have to. We're all dreamers. We all have the capability of whatever we are thinking about or wishing for can happen. We just have to not only manifest it, but really feel like it's happening for it to happen.
Yeah.
So we opened 2 daycares in New York, and we didn't have any money in the bank. I tell people this story often. And the first time, it was for 5 years with a partner. So it was myself and my husband and my friend and her husband. And we just went in and we found the spot and we just started working. Thank God my husband had his job, but we didn't have money saved or anything. It was just a dream. It was a dream of mine, and we did it. Ultimately, it wasn't easy, but we did it. And then we did it again because I closed the business with with her, because it's not always easy doing business with friends.
No.
But and then we opened another daycare and we had it for 10 years. So
How do you make that leap, that jump, and just believe that it's going to happen then? I mean, what's your thought process?
So my thought process, I'm going to tell you from the second one, because the first one was kind of out of desperation, really, the first one, for my son. So I am Puerto Rican and my husband is Black, and looking for a daycare. So my daughter had kind of was in a daycare for just a short time, but for my middle son, we needed it for a longer periods of time in the day, probably at least 25 to 30 hours a week. And it was very hard to find a place. that was a mixture of people. I've always been raised with a mixture of people. So a lot of the daycares were either all white, all black, or all Spanish, and I didn't want that. He was, interracial, and I wanted, and then unfortunately a lot of the white daycares didn't want us. And this was, 20 something years ago. They I guess, but they were at their capacity for minorities, so they didn't want that. But seeing the need for that, because I said, okay, if I'm feeling this way, there has to be other parents feeling that need, that not feeling so comfortable when they walk into a place to bring their child.
Yeah.
So I sat with my friend one day and I'm like, let's open a daycare, because we were working at the same place. I was actually a manager. I was working in a New York company, and I was a manager there. She was an associate. I said, let's just do it. She's like, what? Are you crazy? We don't have the money to do that. I'm like, no, let's do it. Let's look into it and let's just start it. And we did. And, there was a lot of bureaucratic stuff, but ultimately, and we walked into the place and it was like white. It was just, the walls were like very barren. And, I'm like, we just need some color in here. And all three of them, the two husbands and my friend, were like, no, that's too much work. We can't do that. I'm like, we got to put color in here because the children have to feel happy and feel comfortable. And, so I pushed and I got the color. I'm like, I'll do it myself. I'll find people to help me if you don't want, but I need to put color in here. And we did. We made it yellow and red, all the primary colors. And, it took us about maybe 6 months to open, and we finally opened. And then the second time, it was like the daycare had closed. We were going to move to Massachusetts because we already had our house. And I saw a building that was for rent, for lease. And I'm like, I called Andrew and I'm like, the place is open where I wanted the first daycare to be. It's open. It's there. It's available. He's like, oh my God, you're crazy. We have to move. Like, we're moving. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I said, I'm telling you, I just see it. I know,
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he wasn't quite ready to retire. So if we would have moved to Massachusetts, he would have had to have gotten an apartment closer to New York, probably like in the Bronx, close to Massachusetts, but because he had to be a resident.
Uh-huh.
So it just didn't feel right at the time. And I called the landlord, and he met with me, and he said, "What would you like to put here?" And I'm like, "Well, I was thinking of a daycare. I just came out of a daycare, and I was taking care of some of the children from that daycare because the parents loved me, and they said, well, just watch them." And they wanted me to watch them in my home. So I had like 4 or 5 children in my home. And he said, well, that sounds like a great idea. Like, that would, and he was very, just his spirit. Like, I'm all about like that connection. When I felt like I was in the right place at the right time. It just felt right. The conversation felt right. His energy for my idea felt right. And and my husband still thought I was crazy. But we and not only did we have to take one store, we had to take 2, make an opening to create 2 means of egress. So it was even a bigger expense than, and it was in Brooklyn. The property's not cheap.
Right.
But we had the place filled up very quickly. The hardest part was getting people to work. But there was a need for the daycare. There was a need for inclusivity of all ethnicities.
Sure.
We probably had every race there. Like, it was just an amazing feeling to have a place that everyone was welcome and they felt welcome, and we celebrated their holidays. We did,
Yeah.
So if you have a vision, if you believe in what your mission is or what you want to do, you can do anything. Absolutely anything.
I can hear that. I believe that. I mean, that's a great story. A couple other things is, one of the things that you said was too much work. People were telling you no. How do you I mean, it's probably in your DNA, but can you explain it a little bit more? The determination that you had of, no, this is what we're going to do, and this is how I envision this, and getting them to buy in to help you out.
I'm very stubborn when I believe in something. Like, if I'm not really too crazy about it, I could kind of like give the idea up and say, okay, but if I'm passionate about something and I'm really believing and seeing it, like they say, when it's keeping you up at night, then that's what you're supposed to be doing, And yeah, so they see that in me. I've been working since I'm 13 years old. I've been, my work, I'm usually the hardest working person in the room. Like, I just feel that confident in myself because it's just, again, it's part of my survival mechanism, and it's stuck with me. And sometimes when we go through adversities in life, it just makes us stronger. It makes us who we become. It just makes us strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just not saying, okay, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to do it. And if I can't do it myself, I'll find people to help me. And what are they going to say to that? Of course they're going to help. And then when it was done, they were like, wow,
That sense of accomplishment after the fact too.
Yeah, definitely. And then it just became this thing bigger than us. It's like, now it's not for us, and it's not, and my biggest downfall is it's never because of the money. That's my biggest downfall in everything that I do. It's never because of the money. It's because of how people feel and what impact we're making. So, I grew up with a very rough childhood. So it was important for me to have children in my life that I can give to them what wasn't given to me, and to make them feel like they have a safe space and that their parents are comfortable and safe leaving them with us, because there's two ends to that, So it was never really about the money. It was about the space, and then the success and everything else came after, and it always does.
Why do you say it's a downfall? Why do you say the downfall it's not about money?
Because a lot of times I get myself mixed up in the emotion and that part of it, the money aspect of it, kind of, it affects me adversely, I should be spending this time making money and not doing this. But it's just who I am. I do that now to reselling. I can be listing 50 items a day if I wasn't on social media, or you know what I mean? Like, it's just a reality. But that aspect of it is just important to me. I know everything else is going to follow. I know it's going to come.
Right. And I want to clarify, including with the people listening, when you say being on social media, it's not just scrolling, death scrolling.
You're no.
Reaching out to people and making connections with people.
Yes. But I appreciate that, because yes, I'm not aimlessly scrolling. I am a learner of everything. Like, we're never too old. When we stop learning is when we're not here anymore, and just like I said, when we started, that human connection is important to me. I love hearing people's stories and knowing that if they're having a problem and I can just say a little something to help them, get through that hurdle, then I did my job for the day. Like, I felt like that's my purpose. And I've had that feeling since I was a little girl. Like, I would walk up to people when I was little just to say hi to them and make them smile. Like, I remember doing that. And yeah.
Where do you think that came from when you were a little girl? Did that just naturally come from you, or family member, something like that? Where did that come from?
I honestly think it was a spiritual thing. I don't want to make this morbid, but I had a rough childhood. It started from very young, and I guess if you don't believe in God, I am Catholic. I believe in God. I believe in the universe and all that. So I believe something was given to me to help me get through what I was going through, and it was my personality. It was my way of seeing good in not so good things, and just smiling to other people and then seeing them smile back to me was that way,
Yeah.
you know.
I can understand that. Just that, again, it goes back to that connection with that person. It can be for a split, just a moment in time, but no, you made them happy or grin for a moment. It's a big deal. It's that energy that you can take with you.
Yeah, and like Maya Angelou said, people will not remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah. And just to be clear, we can go as deep as you want to go on what you feel comfortable sharing with. Okay. Because I know you said you definitely had a rough childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Rough childhoods make stronger adults.
Uh-huh.
Do you agree with that phrase, and why do you agree with that?
I agree with it because, you have to. Well, it could go either way, right? It could make you like boisterous and not that nothing bothers you, but I'm pretty thick-skinned. I could probably deal with just about anything, and of course I'm gonna have a little difficulty and stuff, but I don't feel like I'm not afraid of anything. It kind of like gives you that. It takes away the fear. It really does. And I don't really know survival. I don't know. That's all I could say.
Well, one thing is kids are very resilient, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
But on the other hand, I have family members and stuff that have gone through things and they became victims, and I never wanted to become a victim. Like, so you can become a victim or you can become a victor, and you have to decide very young what you want to do. So I've always been working or involved, like in school and high school. The way you see me now, I was in high school. I was on, I took pictures on the school yearbook, and I was in softball and volleyball, and I was very active. I led the Spanish group in high school. Like, so I was very active and busy, and that helped with whatever trauma I was dealing with. Not having my parents, and I ran away from home when I was 13, and I went to live with my mother's sister, and and then I left as soon as I graduated high school. I moved out on my own. So yeah, so it was like,
you had to grow up fast.
Yeah, yeah.
What I'm gathering from this too is it was in a book, and I don't remember what book I pulled that from, but they were providing an example of two sons who was brought up by an abusive dad, and one, they both get married, and one is the model father, model husband, and the other one is drinking and abusive.
Emulating.
Yeah. And they asked each one why. I mean, they're taking down two different paths. They have the same experience, but the choices that they chose to make is what created them. So no matter how rough our childhood can be, we have that choice to make it better and move forward from it by becoming resilient.
Mm-hmm. And I think being probably escaping, I'll say, when I was 13 and leaving and being around a different environment, and then just working and seeing how, my friends' families were, and I'm like, oh, there's a different life. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be yelling and screaming, and, that's why now I kind of grew up with, I don't like confrontation. Like, we can talk about it, but if I feel like it's getting escalated where it's not going in a good place, because once you get to a certain point, things can get ugly quickly.
Right.
I will get in my car and go for a long drive. That's my coping mechanism. Whether it's right or wrong, it's what I do. It keeps me in that space because it's very easy, like you said, to go a different route, to be, I could have become an abusive mom, an abusive spouse, and it's very easy. It could happen,
Right.
But you have to put yourself in the frame of mind of what you want your life to look like. Do I want to become an alcoholic? Do I want to? Because that was exactly the case. And, my mother's husband, he was my stepfather. he was an alcoholic. He was abusive. And yeah, it's not, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So, you just don't want that.
And you were able to make that choice.
Yes, and you have to. And then in high school also, what helps also, anyone will tell you, it's for selfish reasons, but helping other people gets you through your trauma.
Okay.
It just does. And I've been like that all my life. In high school, I spoke about domestic abuse, child abuse. I've been speaking for that for very long. I used to write poetry and things like that to kind of get out what I was feeling. So, I tried the therapy and stuff for a little bit. It didn't work for me. But helping people and, usually when I'm around someone, I kind of sense, I have like those spidey senses to know the abuse they've been through in their life. And this is why I have a lot of compassion for people and give people the benefit of the doubt. Until you show me that you're not worthy of my respect or love, I will give it to you 1,000%,
And when that happens, though, it probably hurts when that person is showing that they're no longer worthy for that,
Yeah, and I only mean worthy in the sense of my energy, because everyone's worthy of love and, respect and to be able to be uplifted out of whatever darkness they're in. But you have to know sometimes people just don't want to be helped, and your energy it could drain you, and that energy can go to someone who it's going to help. And that's what what you want to do. And I always feel like, even though, and my husband would say this about me, like, you're always doing things for people and you get the short end of the stick. And I never feel that way. I never feel like anything I've ever done was in vain. They say that we're in people's lives for a blessing, a lesson, or a season, and it's all true. Like you and I meeting, all the people that we've met, in this time in our life, it's for this reason, for this purpose, and, some people will stick around longer, and the ones that don't, it's okay. It's okay.
Yep, that's definitely something I've had to learn, and it's a not a great lesson. It's definitely a lesson that I appreciate that I went through. On that of it's okay. There's a season for everyone, and some people will leave you, and others will stay longer, like you mentioned.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And as long as you know that, I give of myself very freely. You know me for sure. You see, this is how I am all the time. I don't ever feel like, they're taking advantage of me, or I'm giving too much, or I never feel like that about anything, about my knowledge, anything, whatever I can do to help. It's who I am.
Something that reminds me of, I think it was Gary B that said, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of when you're trying to help somebody, you weren't actually doing it because you wanted to help. You wanted to feel something back or get something back out of it. So that definitely stuck with me.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. I also want to say right now, I appreciate you going at that different level and being vulnerable and having that conversation. I think whoever listens to this, I think it will land for them as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It was deep. I loved it. Thank you again. I do have one last question for you, and this is my favorite question. A lot of people answer it the same way, and I'm okay with that because I think it's important. My channel is called Abel's Treasures, and I want to ask you what your greatest treasure is.
My greatest treasure, other than my family, because my family is my...
No, it can be your family. It doesn't have to be an item or anything. Just what do you value?
I value the human connection. That's what I value, because I think we instill in our children and our families, I'll say our children, we instill in them to be good people. And I think that's the human connection. So whether it would be with them or anyone, like, that's important. That's my biggest treasure, is the human connection.
Thank you for coming onto my channel, and I agree. One of the greatest treasures is the human connection. And it was great connecting with you during this conversation. Everyone else, comment below on what you pulled out of this conversation. But it is my turn to pull out 3 things that I pulled from the conversation. Now, number 1, I'm just going to cheat. And as she finished, the greatest treasure is connections with people. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you're able to have a deeper conversation with somebody, that is a blessing. You not only can learn something from someone, but honestly, you're probably helping them out by making that human connection. Number 2 is go for a drive. She said something like, I go for a drive because it's good for my soul. What I pulled from that is, make sure you take time for yourself. Be on your own, journal, like I've mentioned in other videos. Be by yourself. Be able to know what you're good at and what you need to work at. And the only way to do that is really take that moment. And it sounds Lisette takes those moments by going for a drive. So that is number 2. And finally, number 3 is find a need and fill it. Now, it's something that my grandpa would always say, and I know there's multiple people that say that, is find a need and fill it. Now, the reason that sticks out to me is, yes, I'm a reseller, but I'm always looking for that need. And I still feel like today I have not found a need that I could accurately fill or fill to the best of my ability. I'm still out there searching for that. And when that comes, I will definitely know it. Those are the 3 things that I pulled away. Again, please comment below. Finally, I want to remind everybody the greatest treasure is connections with people. Take care of each other.